What would you do if Vladimir Putin would owe you money? Would you expect to ever receive it at all? Would you press charges, or would you be too scared to confront one of the most powerful people in the world? This is the story of Franz Sedelmayer. I'm new to this whole YouTube thing and I want to improve myself to give you better content. I want to talk with you about economics, its history, its impact, and also why it's important for us all, and therefore understand the world a little bit better. If you are interested in these topics, or you just want to see the channel grow, please do not forget to click subscribe. Also, please let me know in the comments below what I can do better and what topics you're interested in. With this out of the way, let's go back to the video. To be honest, this story does not start with Putin, and also Putin does not owe the money personally. It all started more than 20 years ago, after the Soviet Union failed and the Cold War ended. A young German called Franz Sedelmayer, a businessman for special purpose vehicles and special ops equipment, saw his chances in the just opened market in the East. He had good ties with local officials, including a young first deputy mayor of St. Petersburg called Vladimir Putin. The business went well, and everything seemed to work out for Franz Sedelmayer. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. A decree by Boris Yeltsin, the former president, expropriated Sedelmayer of his property and his 50% share that he owned of the company. His business? Gone. Luckily, Germany and the Russian Federation signed a bilateral investment treaty which should protect investors of foreign direct investments of condemnation, meaning Russia had to pay compensation to France. Well, they didn't. The first dispute settlement of Franz Sedelmayer versus the Russian Federation took place in Stockholm, and in 1998 Sedelmayer finally won the verdict. The first person ever to win an international arbitration award against Russia, about $2.4 million US. Is this the end of this story? Well, he had an official title to claim his money from the Russian Federation, but they were not willing to pay. What if other investors would decide to seek dispute settlements as well? This could look bad on Russia. In 1998, Russia was also in the mid of a crisis. The days of Boris Yeltsin were counted and a young Vladimir Putin became president in 1999. Someone who wouldn't give in either. 5 years after the whole story started. But besides the intimidation tactics which started on Sedelmayer and his family, he wanted his money back. As there was no chance to get any money within Russia or directly from the government, he had to become creative of how to find ways to enforce his award abroad. Franz became passionate about finding Russian properties. He tried seizing value-added refunds that Germany paid to Russia, impound payments from the Lufthansa to Russia, trying to seize state property at a trade fair or an air show in Germany. More than 140 processes were fought over a period of 20 years. Even though Sedelmayer was in the right, often political reason prevented him from seizing the properties, as either Russia was protected by diplomatic immunity, or because, for instance, in the case of the Lufthansa, the Lufthansa would have been unfairly harmed because Russia threatened to cancel the overflights. Again, we're talking in this case about an initial sum of $2.4 million. Finally, Sedelmayer found a few real estate properties which have not been used for diplomatic purposes and brought them up for auction. And still, the Russian government found ways and efforts to make the life of Sedelmayer difficult. With weird contract constructs, they tried to make the properties very unlucrative for potential buyers. It took several auctions in Sweden and Germany until Sedelmayer finally received in 2014 all of his money plus interest. I think this story brilliantly shows the importance, but also the difficulty of bilateral investment treaties. Even though in discussions about free treaty arrangements, the arbitration settlement is usually critically looked upon, this does not just protect multinational firms, conglomerates and global players, but also small investors like Franz Sedelmayer who own a family business. As this story shows, it protected a businessman and his right on his property from expropriation. But just because he was awarded with the title, it does not mean that he will still receive his compensation. It still needs a lot of patience and dedication to stand up against a counterparty who has a lot of power and more or less infinite resources to put you down. Fighting such a battle does not just take financial resources, but also the willpower not to give in, especially if you're dealing with a counterparty with, well, not the best reputation when it comes to certain methods. In my opinion, this is an extraordinary story of a man who stood up. What do you think about it? Would you ever have the willpower to fight that long against an opponent like Russia? Let me know in the comments below. And if you think this story is interesting, you might want to hear the whole audiobook of Sedelmayer's book, which I linked in the description down below. Please also check my other videos like how banks are creating money. Leave a comment what other topics I should cover in upcoming videos. And if you're interested in these topics about economic history and economics, please click subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.